we got a couple other people joining us. If anyone has any questions, we'll go ahead and use the raise hand feature. All right, Coach, you ready?
Yes.
All right, we'll go ahead and start with Lila.
Hey, Cuonzo, hope you're doing well. What has the past week, or so kind of just looked like for you guys in terms of how much you have been able to practice? I know you'd mentioned, I think, on the radio show, having to do some things separate, just kind of, what's the status on that? What does the week look like?
I thought it was a very productive week. It was one of those weeks like when you have your first week of, actual college practice. I thought the energy was great, the enthusiasm, the work ethic. And we've been getting, we've been getting 2 in a day in the morning and in the PM. I thought the guys have done a great job, really just working extremely hard. But we haven't had 10 guys. So we've been doing a lot of 3-on-3, 4-on-4, a lot of skill work, but it's been fun. It's been good.
Mitchell?
Yeah, Cuonzo, are you anticipating having a full roster tomorrow?
Not a full, but we got enough to go.
Okay.
We got enough to go. I'm excited to go too.
Dave?
Can you say anyone who won't be available, either your players or staff, as of today?
I think we're down 3. I don't think I can say who, but I think we're down 3 guys. So for sure, we're down 3. And hopefully we're not doing any testing until it's probably Sunday or Monday. So, yeah.
Cuonzo, has testing changed since last year? Are you guys, I know the protocols have all changed with the CDC and the SEC somewhat. Is the testing similar? I mean, are you testing asymptomatic players, or how's that going?
Yes, it's similar, and obviously the new protocol that came out. So if you, so we've had several that were contact traced, so there's a certain amount of time, and sometimes it get confusing for me, even though you didn't test positive, but you were contact traced, and you have to sit out a certain amount of time. Like for example, when I was out, they passed a new law, so I came back 5 days and I had to wear a mask for 5 days. So now I guess I don't have to wear a mask now, but I try to wear it as much as I can. But testing is very similar to it was a year ago. Yes.
Eric?
Hey, Cuonzo, you mentioned it's been a productive week, but Alabama's kind of hard to prepare for, even with a full roster, much less down. I guess a third of your scholarship players, if you're down 3, you're down to 9. So just what does that kind of process look like? And did you need to course correct with guys coming back or leaving again at any point this week?
No, you spend a lot of time watching film. And I wouldn't necessarily, they're difficult to prepare for. They're very talented. They're a really good team. But they do a great job of playing in spacing and attacking off the dribble and making plays. And that's where the pressure comes. You have to be able to contain the dribble because they have really good guys that can make plays off the dribble. So it's one-on-one defense. And then where they get you, I think where they're great at is they get you in scramble situations. So now all of a sudden the attacker close out and they get in the paint. 2 guys help, they pitch it. That guy, he doesn't have a shot. He drives the ball. That's how they get a lot of their threes. Outside of maybe Shaq, who's an elite level shooter, but a lot of their threes are ball handlers attacking off the closeout and making plays, making extra plays. Then all of a sudden you have 2 guys on one ball, then they shoot wide open threes. And I think they're one of the better offensive rebounding teams, especially with their guards. They're bigs rebounder, but their guards are high level. I think Shaq was around 6, and Ellis is maybe close to 6, 5.8, 5.9. And that's 2 guard positions.
Lila?
Cuonzo, when you're playing a team like Alabama, that plays with really good pace, what kind of challenge is it when you haven't, had the full strength at practice in facing a team like that?
I think anytime you face a team like that, so we've had enough guys to practice, so we've gone over things, but you obviously like to have 5-on-5 to duplicate some level of game speed and reps. So we've had a coach in there to try to help and assist in that. But I think the key is sprinting out, getting your transition defense set, get back set. We talk about building the wall defensively. You can't allow those guys to get the ball out quick, get up the floor 1 or 2 passes, and they land the ball up. because they're very productive. Their bigs also run. Their guards go, but their bigs run as well. And I just think the biggest key is you have to make them play in the half court and make plays. And you have to contain the perimeter for its one-on-one defense. You have to do a great job there. Then after that initial, you have to limit your scramble closeouts. You got to be the guard one-on-one and make them guys make tough plays over you.
Nat?
Hey, hope you're doing well. Obviously you guys have had a tough stretch of schedule here. I think Courtney had said it was 3 of the last 5 opponents have been ranked. What does that provide for your team in terms of, how do you think that helps your team, to face those kind of people this early in the SEC schedule too?
I think there's a certain level of pain, and I'm not talking about life pain. I'm talking sports, and you grow in that pain because you have to learn those lessons and you grow through it. And I think our guys have really grown. Sometimes it doesn't show on the scoreboard, and I'm not a guy that's big on cliches and saying stuff to say it, but I think that's real because I can see the growth in them. Now you just want that growth to equal wins, and I think our guys are working toward that as well. And I feel like every time we step on the floor, we give ourselves a chance to win games. Sometimes the margin for error is a little slimmer than others, but I feel good about where we are. And we have to continue to work. We have to be consistent. And of course, if you're able to make shots from the perimeter, it changes the game for you because now you're not consumed with pressing yourself defensively and trying to get stops every time down. You got to be able to make shots at this level.
Mitch?
Cuonzo, when you're playing Alabama, they're going to shoot a lot of threes. I know at times this season defending the three has been a bit of an issue. Just what's going to go into limiting them there?
Simply put, Mitch is doing your job, and that's contain the dribble one-on-one, contesting the three-point shots. And they'll make some three-point shots, and they're not shooting a great three-point percentage. And again, where they get you at is they shoot a lot of them, but they're great at getting to the rim. They create a lot by getting to the rim. Now, sitting at the free throw line, they get fouled and making layups. So that's where they get you at. So what it really comes down to, and they'll make pull-up threes over you because they spend a lot of time shooting threes. They'll make a couple of those. You want those to be tough. But you don't want rhythm, smooth threes of those guys catching and shooting. You don't want that. And they might have a few guys that doesn't necessarily statistically shoot threes well. They might make 1 or 2 just because of our defense and who we're willing to help off of, that sort of thing. So I'm not really consumed with them making 10 threes a game. Our job is to make those threes tough and not allow the miss and get offensive rebound. Then it's the second and the third. And that's where they get you because they get those offensive rebounds. Then they get that three. So now you look at the percentage, you say, well, they only shot 32% from three as a team, but they got three shots in 1 possession. That's where they get you at.
Dave?
Cuonzo, last week, just how tough, how unusual was it watching from afar, and what could you take away from having a little bit different vantage point watching your team?
Oh, it's very interesting. The tough part about that is just you, as your team is battling to be successful, and you're not there with your team. So that part for me was really tough because I like to be in the trenches with them, especially when you're going through tough times. But I thought the guys did a good job. We got off to a slow start, got back in the game. In the second half, we got it down to 9. End of the first half, we didn't finish strong. And we cut it to 9 around the 7-minute mark, 6-minute mark. We just couldn't get over the hump. Couldn't make a shot here on the perimeter. And then we didn't do a good job with our transition defense to keeping Severe Wheeler out of there because I thought he did a tremendous job of putting pressure on our defense. We have that level of athleticism. When he's driving and those big guys around the rim, it's hard to help up and help off. So we got to do a great job of containing that dribble.
Eric?
Cuonzo, with the NCAA changing its language, meaning fully vaccinated means you've now received a booster shot as well. Can you comment on how much of the team has received that and what the process of that is like?
We have, for me, I hadn't received my boost. I was scheduled to do it, but when I got COVID, so I have to wait. I think maybe the 23rd is when I'm able to get my boost this month. But we have everybody except 2 guys that haven't had the boost, and those 2 were scheduled to do it, and obviously here we are. Yes.
Lila?
Cuonzo, when you look at kind of, Alabama's resume, they have kind of one of the weirder ones in the country with the teams they've beaten and the teams, they've lost to. With, those losses, what have you seen on film that maybe you guys can, take into this game?
Well, one, defense, your transition defense, you have to make them score in a half court and work to score. You can't allow Shackelford and Quinterly comfort. You can't allow those two guys comfort. You have to disrupt their flow. They have to make shots over there. And it's one thing that's easier said than done. They have to be able to make pull-ups over. They can't shoot threes, and you can't allow them to get to the rim. And that's when it's a long night. But it has to be great one-on-one defense, and it has to be pull-ups the whole night. And then with that being said, you have to block out. You have to be physical without fouling. And again, the one-on-one defense, this is probably one of the few teams in the country where your one-on-one defense has to be at a premium because they spend a lot of time with attacking you off the bounce, making one-on-one plays. And if you're not good at containing, they get to those seams. Now they're throwing lobs, they dump it to their big guys, and they're pitching for threes. So I think those are the biggest things. Ellis is playing well. He's one of those guys that plays extremely well on both sides of the ball. The bigs do what they do, and they just, again, it's taxing on the mind if you're a perimeter player and knowing every time down, you got to go out Quinlan and Shackelford off the bounce, especially if you go out Quinlan because he's coming at you the whole night. He's making plays. And a lot of what they do is predicated off his moves off the bounce and making plays at the rim. Then obviously Shackelford's the guy that scores it at all levels.
Nat?
You know, we were talking to Robin Pinchton yesterday after their COVID pause, and she mentioned, how tough it is to prepare to be ready. I think the word she used was clanky, coming back after a COVID pause like that. How tough is it to get your guys ready, from a conditioning and like a game ready standpoint after these COVID breaks?
It's tough from the standpoint, it's not normal, but it is in our society now. And it's hard for me to make an excuse about it, especially if you have enough to play. And I'm excited to really play. Our guys are excited to play. You like to have all your guys there because that's how you practice. There's comfort level with certain guys that you have on your team. If they're not around, it doesn't feel right. The hard part, you can't duplicate 5-on-5, unless you got a coach out there. I'm certainly not getting out there because I can't move. But it's like so you can't do those things. But so you practice enough where it's the rhythm, the reps, the toughness stuff, you try to get that in. And so now when you're playing the game, guys are familiar with. Then you got some guys maybe play out of position that they're not used to just because of the numbers. Then he has to be ready to go in the game and play a position that he's not used to in practice. But he still has to be productive. There's no excuse. You still have to be productive and get the job done.
Any other questions for Coach? All right, it looks like that's it. Thank you, Coach.
You guys take care.